Here's all the tools you'll need to build a chicken composter. If you look around the power tools, you'll see a lot of green Hitachi stuff. There was a time when I thought Hitachi was the best power tool manufacturer, and I think that time has kind of come and gone. If I was going to go out and buy a premium electric tool right now, it'd probably be Makita or Bosch. So don't let all this green fool you. Okay, I'm going to start with the power miter saw. I'm a carpenter, so I got a nice miter saw. The cheapest 10-inch miter saw, not a sliding miter saw, not a dual compound miter saw, just a plain old cheap 10-inch miter saw will easily get the job done with a decent blade on it. So this is all I'm going to be using just because I got it. I'm going to need some scissors to cut the roofing plastic. Just a decent pair of sharp scissors. If you bought metal for your roof, you'll need some tin snips. So just whatever it takes to cut the roof is what the scissors are for. Okay, jigsaw blades. Here are the winners right here. These cheap little 12 tooth per inch jigsaw blades worked really well. The Hardy backer board that I'm using for this project just chews up blades. And for cutting radiuses, some of the sharp radiuses, these worked really well. They're cheaper. So 2 5-packs of these. Okay, you're going to need one longer blade. Here's some crazy Bosch super blade. You just need one, but if you have to buy 5, whatever. Okay, tape measure, chisel, can't even tell you what for. You just always need a chisel to pry on something. Okay, here's the 2 pairs of pliers that you really need to get this job done. The red handle pliers, you could substitute a nice big pair of vice grips for that, and then a pair of wire cutters. This pair of pliers is optional, but it does come in handy. You're going to need a good sharp rasp. Going to be filing on some PVC fittings. It can be really coarse. It can be coarser than this one. This one's fairly coarse. So if you got one fine, a random orbit sander will work fine with some coarse, 40 or 60 grit. You could use an old sanding belt or a new sanding belt, 40 60 grit with a sanding block. But all this is to work on some PVC. You need a hammer and preferably also a rubber mallet for smacking PVC fittings together with wet glue on them. Impact driver. This is one of my favorite bones to pick. I don't think anybody should ever buy a cordless drill. This is just my own opinion. What you should do is get an impact driver, and this is not a big one. This is a 12 volt. You're not going to be knocking lug nuts off of your truck with this, but for screws and general woodworking and hardware, it works really well. It's a lot more versatile than a cordless drill. If you have a cordless drill, that will work fine for this. But if you've been looking for an excuse to get an impact driver, here's your excuse. And then what I would do is just own an impact driver and a nice big 1/2-inch corded hammer drill that's a 2-speed. And between that impact driver and that hammer drill, you got everything you're ever going to need as far as screwing, drilling. The one thing about the impact driver, it doesn't have a regular chuck. This is a big advantage. You can just click pieces in and out of it. Here we're looking at a screw guide bit in there. You're going to need one of those. There's a number 2 Phillips. Even if you have a cordless drill, you're still going to need that screwdriver, whatever you want to call that bit on the end. It really works for putting those self-tapping screws in. Here's another one of those driver bits. Okay, drills. One of the advantages of a impact driver is that you can clip things in and out of it really quickly. Well, you got to have that kind of bit. Now these are cheap bits. You're not going to go drilling holes through steel. You might make one hole and these are going to break or get dull. But for drilling about anything else, wood, plastic, you name it, these work just fine. I got this whole set for like 10 bucks. For this particular project, you only need a 1/8, a 3/16, and a 1/4 bit. So that's what you absolutely need, is those 3. It seemed easier to me to get the whole set. Okay, here's a 7/16 inch wrench for the 1/4" nuts, no big deal. Okay, here's the safety kit. Kind of self-explanatory. Eyes, respirator, ears. Okay, nice hacksaw. I don't know that I actually used it, but you know, it doesn't even have to be a hacksaw. It seems like a handsaw of some type comes in handy at some point. Okay, framing square. Gonna need a framing square. They're good for a lot of different projects. Razor knife, you just need that for whatever. Okay, little 4.5" angle grinder. I've got a metal blade on there. You're pretty much gonna need that. Okay, and now we get down to the jigsaw. Once again, this was a saw, I think I got this like 12 or 13 years ago. It's a pretty good jigsaw. For this project, a cheap jigsaw, you know, a little $20 Black & Decker probably is not going to get it done for you. I mean, you could try it. You need at least an intermediate jigsaw. You know, as far as the top end, nah. You know, you can get a good intermediate jigsaw, I think, for somewhere between 50 and $100. The top end ones, they want a couple $100. I mean, that's kind of crazy for a jigsaw. So that's it.